Good afternoon and welcome to Julius Mbaluto Live, first of many to come. We are happy you joined us, and I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful time, all of us together here. And on the panelist, I'm joined by Freddy Macha, a renowned journalist, musician, entertainer, and also we have Mrs. Linda Saunyama. She is a legal accountant and also an entrepreneur. Well, our man handling all our technology, his name is very popular, pretty short, JJ, just two J's, but his full name is Joseph Adamson Otieno. So you wouldn't see him, but yeah, we are a big team here to just bring you this wonderful show. In our show today, we are going to explore the legacy of former Tanzanian President John Pombe Joseph Magufuli. He was elected as the 5th president of Tanzania in 2015. Prior to that, he had served as Minister of Works, Transport and Communications from 2000 to 2005, and also 2010 to 2015. He was the chairman of SADC, South Africa Development Community, from 2019 to 2020. President Joseph Magufuli died on 17th of March 2021, and he was buried yesterday, 26th of March 2021. Well, a lot has been written about this great man, but whichever way you look at it, Africa has lost a great leader. A lot has also been reported about him, rumors about how he handled COVID-19, what he did good, what he should have done. All that has been in public domain. Well, on this show, we shall only explore his legacy. So please share our link widely. And, you know, we really want to engage a lot of people. Feel free to comment on our show, ask questions through our Facebook link. We shall start by watching a clip about how he handled the issue of mining. For example, just to start us up.
Wanakwambia wanachukua mchanga. Sasa kama ni mchanga, kwa nini unausafirisha kupeleka Ulaya? Kama ni mchanga, si usafirishe hata Kinyerezi ukajenge daraja. Lile lilikuwa shamba la bibi lingine. Dhahabu yetu imesombwa, tumeachiwa mashimo, wananchi wameendelea kuwa maskini. Na maeneo yaliyokuwa na dhahabu nzuri wanafukuzwa, wanachimba wao. Mikataba ilikuwa inasainiwa Ulaya bila hata Watanzania wa hapa kujua. Mimi nilikuwa serikalini miaka 20. Nimebadilisha huu taratibu. Tukasema lazima tukae kwenye meza tuzungumze. Mliyasikia yaliyozungumzwa na baadhi ya Watanzania waliokuwa mapapeti wa hawa watu. Serikali itafungwa, hamwezi tukashindana na wazungu. Tumewabana kisawasawa. Paka wameanza kutoa pesa na gawio, na tukaunda kampuni inayoitwa Twiga. Wameshaachia bilioni 100 na kesho wanaleta tena bilioni 100 za faida zilizopatikana hapa. Hizi fedha ndizo tunazipeleka kwa wananchi wanyonge, kwenye mahospitali, kwenye madawa, kwenye mashule, kwenye barabara. Hivi vilikuwa havipatikani. Lakini msifikiri wanavitoa kwa raha. Adui yao mkubwa namba 1 ni mimi. Kwa sababu ninakwamisha mambo yao. Kwa sababu ninakwamisha mambo yao. Lakini mimi nakwamisha kwa niaba yenu. Mimi nimezaliwa kwenye familia maskini, na ndiyo maana nasema kazi ya urais ni sadaka kwa Watanzania walio maskini. Nilifanya vibaya, nimefanya vizuri. Hawawezi wakafurahi, na huu ndio ukweli. Tumeingia kwenye swala la corona. Tumejenga hospitali za mkoa 10. Tumejenga hospitali za wilaya 98. Tumejenga hospitali za rufaa 4. Hatukukopa hela kwao. Wanaona gele, wanaona wivu, wanaona uchungu. Tulikuwa na tatizo la umeme katika nchi hii. Ninyi hapa Segerea ni mashahidi. Ulikuwa ukienda mtaa wa Uhuru Dar es Salaam, huwezi ukajua hata sauti ya majenereta. Yalikuwa kama muziki wa bongo flavor. Lingine linaunguruma hapa, lingine lingine kekekekeke. Hiyo ndiyo yalikuwa maisha ya wana Dar es Salaam. Tumesema hapana. Nchi hii ina vyanzo vingi vya umeme. Tukasema sasa tunaanza ile Stiglas Gorge au bwawa la Nyerere. Tuanze kutengeneza umeme pale. Tulipoanza kuzungumza, yakaja mambo, tunaharibu mazingira. Tulipokwenda kucheki mle ndani polini, tumekuta wao wana hoteli, wana hunting block 47. Kuna viwanja vidogo vidogo vya ndege, airstrip 38. Walikuwa wanasomba meno ya tembo, wanasomba kila kitu. Tanzania limekuwa shamba la bibi, ndugu zangu. Tukasema tunajenga kwa sababu taifa hili liko huru. Tukajaribu kuomba mkopo wakakataa. Tumejenga kwa fedha zetu trilioni 6.5 na kandarasi yupo. Tunataka umeme usambae kila mahali. Palipo na shida ya umeme, umeme ukaingie. Na tunataka hata bei ya umeme tuishushe chini. Tushushe bei ya umeme kama wanavyouziana kwao. Wakishaona haya mambo, hawawezi wakafurahi. Hawawezi hata kidogo, kwa sababu wamekosa eneo walilokuwa wanachuma. Nataka niwaeleze ukweli wana Dar es Salaam, na hii ndiyo sadaka yangu kwenu kwa kuwaeleza ukweli.
Well, there you have it. There you have it. What a great president. What issues, great issues there to focus on. We have just heard former president talking about, trade in Africa. We are talking about investment in Africa. He's talking about exploitation of African resources by international companies. That, of course, we saw. He gave an example of this particular mining pit that all the time, a lot of tanzanite was being harvested and taken away. But, all this happening under the watch, it never benefited the people of Tanzania. And the other key thing is, another key issue President Magufuli addressed was the issue of developing your country, using your own resources and your own money without having to borrow. So we are talking about Africa continent, which is awash with loans, especially Chinese loans, all countries involved. Talk about Angola. They built what was dubbed the ghost city, hundreds of houses, all by the Chinese investors. If you come to every other country in Africa, and you'll be, shocked to find out how trade is taking shape. In Zambia, we saw an example of the Chinese company that Zambians were working for. And in fact, what happened was at some point during when COVID-19 broke out, staff for that company took about 2 months before going home, because their Chinese bosses are saying, if you go home, you're going to bring back corona in our company. So you see this kind of abuses, exploitation of African resources. Talk about also mistreatment and, lack of valuing the African workers. There is a lot of problems going on there. And I think this is exactly what Magufuli was addressing. So therefore, when we see especially what he managed to achieve, we can only remember during his Requiem Mass, Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, he had to say this about, the former president. He said, in a very short span of time, President Magufuli has shown that we as Africans are able to disentangle ourselves from the dependency of foreigners, and that we have the ability to manage our own economy and ensure our people get what is rightfully to them. So as we run with this particular narrative of independence, proper independence, depending on our own resources and expertise to develop, what comes in your mind? Let me just start with Freddy. What comes in your mind, and also your feedback after watching that clip?
Thank you, Mbaluto. Thank you, AILTV. First, people should understand there's a thread, of things. Magufuli didn't just appear out of the thin air, because I've been writing in the Tanzanian media throughout the fifth or the five presidencies, starting from Mwalimu Nyerere up to now. So there's a thread. Magufuli was implementing the ideas of the Arusha Declaration, which was declared in 1967 in Tanzania. And this is one of the most important principles of the CCM party, that resources should be used for self-reliance. People should benefit from the country. And this is just somebody who was doing his job that was supposed to be done. And then if you look back, Mwalimu himself was a product of TANU, and TANU was a product of TAA, which was started in the 1920s. And if you go back, the founders of TAA, of pre-TANU party, were looking up to heroes like Mkwawa, who fought the Germans. They're looking at Maji resistance in the end of the 19th century. There are many chiefs which were hanged by the colonialists, like Chief Meli from Kilimanjaro, from Mirambo in Tabora, West Tanzania, many of them. So leaders have been looking behind for heroes in the past. And this is in every country. If you look at England, Prime Minister Boris Johnson will mention Churchill when he's talking. The Americans will be mentioning George Washington. Everybody has a reference point. So Magufuli was simply implementing those tenets, which are very important. And me, being a young man and the same generation as Magufuli himself, being in the press for a long time, you've seen leaders carrying on the tenets of Mwalimu. You see Mwinyi, who introduced the free party elections in Tanzania. Then you have Mkapa, and then you have Kikwete, and now you have Magufuli. The difference is that Magufuli came at a point when things were not working very well. He brought back efficiency. He brought back transparency. He was not wasting time. That's why he didn't travel. He didn't go overseas. He cut down money. He saved the country money. This is very important, because if you look at all the, not just Africa, but if you look out beyond Africa and the diaspora, when a black person becomes very wealthy, they cannot handle money. It's a new thing to us as a people. We've been having, rich people, they become very rich and then they become bankrupt. We have a lot of stars, we don't have to mention names, who become bankrupt after. So Magufuli was simply trying to be efficient. That's why we have this motto, hapa kazi tu. Kazi is work. And he was not wasting time. So he was using, that's his discipline. And that's what I can just say in a few words. He's a man who was doing his job very well.
I can handle money. How much are you willing to give me? uh, we won't. So I think most of the challenges that we have faced in Africa is not our inability to handle money, but more so where that money comes from, really, is also a question. How that allows you to handle money. Talk about a country which gets loans from all these international community. If you flash back not long ago, early 90s, on all African countries, they used to be given loans by what we call Bretton Woods institutions, the IMF, the World Bank, and these loans used to come with preconditions attached. And with that, it doesn't help you a lot. But what you're saying, we quite, like the idea of hands-on management of affairs that Magufuli just was there because he was on the ground where things were happening and he was there to correct wrongs. Linda, what comes to your thoughts when you think about what you watched and maybe what we are sharing before we go far?
I just first of all like to say that I'm very proud to be Tanzanian because of Magufuli. I think he wasn't only a leader, but he saw himself as a servant to his people. I think he saw his position as an opportunity to serve his people rather than a lottery ticket, as possibly usually is. Um, and I like the idea of him being openness to his people and just empowering his people. I think he was a true nationalist, populist, and a patriot as well.
And Pan-Africanist, you forgot to say.
Yes,
um,
he did believe yes in African empowerment. Yes.
Yeah, so I think what touches me when I look into the success of Magufuli, let's also point out a few things. He came to power 2015. Tanzania is a country, there was no functional airline. It was during Magufuli's era, we talk about Tanzania Air, and he also managed to buy some 5 planes all the way from Switzerland. As it is claimed, they were the latest model. So it's not like some countries have done in the past. They go and buy old trains in some Chinese wherever and bring them to their countries, a new venture. Anyways, so we just want to talk about a few things he did. In terms of the transformation of the airports, we saw a lot of changes, bringing technology to manage the affairs of the airports. And there's a lot more. Mr. Freddy, do you want to share a bit more on this, please?
Yes, the name of Magufuli starts with a doctor. That means the person is educated. And when people get educated, they don't understand what the meaning of education is. They think is having certificates and put them on the wall, or having a nice house, a nice car. You know, education means you use resources well, and that is exactly what he wanted. So he's a chemist by study, and then he's a politician. So that means you bring the science to the people. When people say science, it doesn't mean things that in the laboratory. It means you bring good roads. If you look at Dar es Salaam, it used to be a nightmare driving there, just like in many cities in Africa, or even beyond Africa. So you would take about. I remember my sister would wake up to go to work. I was visiting my sister in Dar es Salaam. She woke up at 4 o'clock every day to go to a job at 8 in the morning in the city, in Dar es Salaam. But after the Ubungo interchange was made and a few things were done in Dar es Salaam, it was only 20 minutes. And this is being the biggest chant by the Wamachinga. Wamachinga are the street vendors in Dar es Salaam. They cried. They've been talking, men and women in Kariakor Market. They've been really praising the president. When people say he was a dictator, he did this and this and that, look at these people who used to be marginalized. And they were talking with hurt. They say, he used to say, it used to take about 4 hours coming from Ubungo in the west side of the city to the city, but now only 20 minutes. So they become more efficient. And that is education. Education means you make the life of people or the lives of people better. So the roads were constructed. This is just an example, the road in Dar es Salaam. We haven't spoken about the reconstruction of other roads in the country, the building of the dam that was mentioned in the clip you just showed. So that is what, for me, if somebody is educated, is get a PhD, that's what it means.
And we're talking about also SGR for Tanzania. It was built with the Tanzanian money as well. We're talking about SGR, Standard Gauge Railway in Tanzania. They never borrowed money, did they?
No, look, this project was started by Germans, and Stigler himself died. He was gouged by an elephant, as you know the story goes. He was trying to, because they saw the resourcefulness of the area back in the times of because we were colonized by Germans as well before the First World War, and then the British took it over, and then Nyerere took it over, the first government of the free independent Tanzania. So it was an ongoing process. Like we said in the beginning, is a thread of things. So everybody's aware of the historical time. So it went on up to Kikwete's time, and still there was tightening of money from World Bank with his ties. So what Magufuli was doing is look around. I'm not going to go to China. I don't have to go to Europe. Just going to Africa, Egypt. They've done it before. They got a famous, they run their things very well. So Egyptians agreed to build the thing. So, like, if you look at Magufuli's speeches, they're all talking about how they were angry that he didn't do this. They say he's going to destroy the environment, things are going to happen. But the truth is, people were fed up with power cuts. If you go to Tanzania, power cuts for the last 50 years. I've been in school myself. I went in school the whole day, no classes because the chemistry lab is not working. There's no electricity. The bills are climbing. People don't have any proper electricity. So this is crucial. The money was used, like he said in the clip, but the mining money, the money that was supposed to go overseas, was used to do that. And this dam is going to finish next year. God willing, it's going to finish next year. And that will really change the lives of the people, because electricity is a normal thing in all over the world in the First World War. In the first world, not First World War, First World.
No more war.
No more. Electricity is a normal thing in developed world. You just switch on the light, you got the phone, you got internet. But in Africa, most of the Africa, we're all Africans here. You go in a village, we use koroboys. We don't even use candles. We use much more medieval things. So this is a crucial thing. This is why education does. If you're educated, that's what you do. You build the society, and that's why we call him Dr. Magufuli.
I quite agree. Yeah, he's lived up to his name, yeah, and title.
Yes, as a doctor.
Yeah, let's talk about also, and this question will be going to Linda. We see Magufuli talking to Tanzanians, telling them when it comes to investments on the ground in Africa, there is no free lunch. It's just business, and that tells you when it goes down that way, it's just maximization of profits by the companies that are trying to invest on the ground in Africa. And when you look into also what he did to actually structure that and transform it, like stopping this particular mining, renaming it, starting a company known as Twiga, and now beginning to engage the investors from the West through that company. He doubled the benefits to Tanzanians. What do you remember stands out as in your case, and you say, yeah, you quite feel patriotic as a Tanzanian just because of Magufuli? What stands out in your case?
I mean, investment opportunities obviously will help grow the economy. Although in the investment sector, I wish we had something like dual citizenship, where actually the Tanzanian diasporas had more opportunity to invest in our country than any other people. One thing a leader can do for his country is to empower his own people. So I think things like protecting the natural resources, better healthcare or free school, and better chances of getting to university would eventually empower Tanzanians to invest in our own selves. As he said, we can do it ourselves as well.
Well, thank you. We see one of the ways through which every country in the world tends to lose a lot of money is through corruption. Corruption has seen a lot of countries have so much money, but there's no show for it. You can't say, oh, this is what exactly the money did. Because why? Because it was stolen. And we saw when Magufuli came into power, he started by also sacking ghost workers. And for those who wonder, do ghosts go to work? What happens in this particular case is that there are people who are kept on payrolls of some institutions. They give earning salaries, but all this money goes to individual accounts of the cartels that are running this kind of scandal. So when you talk about ghost workers and Magufuli sacking ghost workers, he actually ended up by streamlining and checking if you are supposed to be paid, you were actually on the payroll, but you were a real human being, alive and working. So that was one way of ending like corruption, but he did many other things to stop corruption. And I think probably let's start by Freddy sharing with us some of the things former president did to deal a blow to corruption.
Yeah, the first thing that you have to know, his nickname was Bulldozer, and the reason why they call him Bulldozer is because when first he came in with a clarion call, everybody was fed up. Every Tanzanian was cynical about saying there's a lot of money around. Everybody said kuna pesa nyingi sana zimejaa hapa nchini, hizi zinakwenda wapi? Where is the money going? So when he came in, first he stopped unnecessary expenditure. So saving money, public service, saving money. That's the biggest thing he did. So first stopping unnecessary celebrations. Or even in African countries, we have celebrations where you see a lot of tanks, military show, pomp, presidents and their wives and families with parading and wasting a lot of money, ceremonies, people sitting there. Some of them you can see they're half dozen, listen to speeches about Africa this, Africa that. But the money is being used there for 2-3 day celebrations. So he cut off that, the normal celebrations. And then there was a thing of travel, delegations overseas. You have an entourage of ministers going to meetings overseas. It used to be 30, 40 people. You cut it to 4 people. So you have more efficiency. When you go to a meeting, you're not going there to have a good time. If you want to have a good time, you're not going to go to Europe. You're going to go to Zanzibar. You're going to go to Serengeti to have a good time. So why are you going there? So because there was an extra money to be gained. So he cut all his stuff. And this made a lot of my Tanzanian friends, some of them, are angry, not because of what he was doing, they're angry because he cut off money, unnecessary spending. So if you're a true servant of the people, if you don't need more than you need, you just need to have a basic money. So the reason why people are angry with bulldozers is because it stopped the money flow, stop the unnecessary spending. And that is the root. It's not something else as saying he's COVID, or they say that he's a dictator, he doesn't listen. He had to do that. You remember when we were in school and you have a very strict teacher, you have a very strict prefect, and this makes you, if there's some people misbehaving, so they're smoking weed in the side, or smoke cigarette in the side, or drinking, and you have a strict teacher, you have a strict prefect, and then the people study. That's how I was. I went to a very strict school myself. If I wouldn't go to a strict school, I wouldn't be speaking here. Probably I'll be dead, I'll be in prison, I'll be somewhere. But because of the strict teachers, and this is a strict president. Simple as that. That's how I see it.
Brilliant, brilliant. We also saw in some cases he would have gone to invest some contracts that were given by other to some people to execute, but almost they used to take a long time, really. But you see Magufuli going there and speaking to the people who are doing the contracts and giving them timelines within which they had to finish the job that they were doing. We also saw, like in the case of Linda, I don't know whether you know about this, perhaps, or maybe you never saw it, but in terms of generation of revenue for the country, he ended up streamlining the Tanzania Revenue Authority and transformed it. Did you watch that? And a lot of more money was collected from
I
the
did get
Revenue
an
Authority.
opportunity to watch that part.
Okay, Freddy, do you remember that?
I don't, but I can give an example of the Maasai guy who became a billionaire after finding a Tanzanite stone. This is last year. It was over the news. And this shows that we have a unique gem from Tanzania called Tanzanite. Everybody here, East Africans, we know that. Is that this particular thing would not have benefited the Tanzanian. So we had a billionaire, and the money was given to the government, and the government used the money appropriately. It's because it's just Magufuli, the whole cabinet, the people who are chosen, even the president at the moment, the new president elect, um, Miss Suluhu Hassan. She's Samia Suluhu Hassan. She's being elected on merit. So we have a thread again, like we said in the beginning, is a thread. So Kassim Majaliwa, the prime minister, all these people are hardworking people. They're not just picked. You hang out with people of the same kind of caliber, and that's how I see it. I don't know if.
It did. I think when you see the things that were done, and when he never borrowed that much from the Westerners, I think it's a very positive thing, and probably something that a lot of leaders in Africa are thinking about. I would say don't think about it. If something is good, worth emulating, go for it. It's no need to waste time anymore. Yeah, so we saw, of course, the Western media that watched Magufuli, that kept on reporting about what Magufuli was doing. We saw the Western media the time that apparently scientists in Tanzania under his leadership tested Popo and the sheep, and they tested positive for COVID-19. And we saw also the way the Western media covered the death of Magufuli, because a lot of rumors were he died of COVID-19. But of course, we were told that he died of heart attack. And the people were quickly to say that, of course, none had the actual evidence to know which way it was. So when it comes to COVID-19, we know it's not just Africa, it's the entire world. Worldwide, the only country that can be seen as an example of the best way that a leader handled COVID-19 pandemic is only New Zealand. But most of other countries, it was a new thing for them. Some messed up, others tried, but there is no one who is perfect. Let's talk about USA, for example. Former President Donald Trump, he dismissed COVID-19. He called it a flu that will come and go. It's just going to disappear. But it never did. We are still talking about it. So other countries did some of the similar things like those. So therefore, any African country, whichever way they handled COVID-19, it was totally a new thing in the continent. And we can never say one is perfect and the other one is not perfect. But what are we saying? I want us to bring our attention to spirituality in approaching COVID-19 as well. We saw a lot of strong spirited campaign by the president saying, yes, let us believe in God, and COVID-19 cannot defeat the power of God. And there he was, and also advocating use of herbal treatment for COVID-19. All these combinations, they seem to be very much in line. I think if you cross different countries, I hear that stories of people who have actually used successfully some of these herbal treatments and they were okay. So what comes to your mind, for example, when you see all this havoc about COVID-19 and the way it was handled and, where we are? Sorry, let's start with Linda, maybe.
Yeah, so nobody really knew how to deal with COVID-19, whether you are in Africa, whether you are in the UK, whether you are in the US. So for any Western media to come up and basically put all the blame on Magufuli, saying that he didn't believe in COVID-19, Magufuli, I think it wasn't that he didn't believe COVID-19 existed. I think he emphasized on us using, as you said, natural and traditional remedies, and also he wanted to separate COVID-19 versus the worry of COVID-19. Worry also can kill. So he was emphasizing on us, trusting in God. As you know, Tanzania and most of African countries, we believe in God and God works. So he wanted to emphasize, talk to God, believe in God, and take the worry out of and let the economy continue. So he even actually told us to wear masks, but make sure you make your own masks. So the things that I see online that Magufuli, is putting his people at risk. He doesn't believe in COVID-19. I think he was misunderstood.
Thank you. Freddy, when you see especially spiritual firmness and strong belief, because whenever he spoke, you can see he has the conviction and he's really determined and he's like, yes, this is our way to go. While other countries are locking down and even places of worship. In Tanzania, the president was saying, no, this is no time to lock down. Let us go and pray. So what's wrong with praying anyway? Because if you're Christian, if you're Muslim, whichever, if you truly believe in God protecting you, isn't that the right thing to do?
Yes, yes, yes. It could have been Buddhism, it could have been Zen, it could have been African magic, it could have been anything. To Everybody needs a moral belief. Even those who are not religious, you have some kind of belief. There's people who wake up in the morning and they have a cup of coffee, a cigarette, or they smoke marijuana or ganja, what you call it, and they believe that is gonna give them moral strength. So we all need that. So there's no harm to have that kind of beliefs as long as you wanna, like you said, uh, Baluto, the thing of worry. Because worry, if you look at the COVID, even now as we speak, many countries can now handle it. We have the big mess up here in Europe of the way the vaccine has been handled. You have a wars going on, like war of words between EU and Britain, and so the thing is a new thing. It's only 1 year old, yeah. So nobody knows how to handle this. Some of them are called it a conspiracy, or it's a war, a cyber war, or it's a fungus created in the laboratory. So nobody really knows what it is. So it's something which is ongoing. So blaming one African leader, and that's when I come to the second point. If you look history, because history is very important, it's been a tendency to always highlight the negativity of good African leaders. If you go back,
Yeah.
you can go back 60 years ago when Patrice Lumumba came on power in Congo, and also Congo is in a mess. Yeah, Patrice Lumumba was saying to the Emperor of Belgium, we fought you guys. You came to Congo, you enslaved us, you treated us like second monkeys, and now we want our independence. That's all he said. And then they say you call him a communist. And within months, Lumumba was tortured with two ministers and he was really badly tortured and then killed and then put in sulfuric acid. And the only thing that remained was his teeth, which the two soldiers took to Europe and they were given back to Congo. I think they've almost been given to Congo now. So if you look at it, it's been that if any good leader in Africa, if he's not killed, there's assassination, character assassination. If you look at the history, there's so many of them. I mean, there's Sankara, there's so many of them. But the bad leaders will get a very big publicity. You got Idi Amin, you got the Mugabes, you got the Bokasas. They give him a lot of propaganda. They always say this guy is a horrible. They say Idi Amin used to put dead bodies in the fridge. He was a cannibal. He did this. Or this has got, they'll say Mugabe. He's got things in Singapore. They highlight the bad things. So if a good leader like Magufuli, this clip we just played, nobody knows about this. I'm speaking to my British friends here. They don't know about this guy. They just saw about the COVID because they want to find a weakness, a thing to character assassinate our leaders. And that's been there from historic times. You see, from the chiefs from the past, they used to say the chiefs. If he's a good chief, they say, "Oh, he's a good man," but he's not done nothing. There's the Blobengulas in Zimbabwe. You have so many chiefs which sold out the continent. But the guys who fought, the Marcus Garveys, the Lumumbas, they're just bad publicity, character assassination. It never stops. That's exactly what happened to this man, because he was the people crying in Tanzania. You see so many people crying. You know, why would people cry for a good leader? Why don't they highlight? Why don't they put that on BBC? Why don't they? Why they have their correspondence right there? Why do not they put a clip of the people crying? Why don't they do that? Why do they talk about the COVID? Such a mess up thing. Nobody knows how to fix it up to now. Why wouldn't they concentrate on that, and they concentrate on something which is not really, it's just a 1 year baby thing? Yeah. So there's a big question to ask.
It definitely is a big question. And I mean, I've seen some of the most interesting branding, like one paper uh, calling Magufuli COVID denier. And how do you run an headline like that? And at what point do you quantify what that amounts to? And the connotation, the underneath meaning to that is pretty negative. Because I remember very well, I've listened to many speeches by the former president, and especially one time he was telling people, I'm not saying there's no COVID. I'm not saying you cannot die. Even myself, I can die. He said that. And he also told, like, whoever wants to put on mask, do it, but make sure you make your own mask. The ones which are supplied can cause problems sometimes. So when you look into all that and the truth, it's just amazing. And we just want to also remember Magufuli as not just as a Tanzanian, but also as a Pan-Africanist. Because when you look into, since he came to power, he never went out of Africa, but he traveled into some countries within Africa. Um, and there's always that connection. I like the way, Freddy, history, is that connection about Africa and independence and freedom. Great leaders have spoken about that. Let's talk about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, upon the independence of Ghana, which was the first country in Africa to be independent. He said that Ghana cannot be free unless entire Africa was free. And you see others who are very much Pan-Africanists, like Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya, so Jomo Kenyatta, founding father of Kenya, and also Julius Nyerere of Tanzania. So when you look into Magufuli, there's something you always share with me. You say, it's not coming up with a new template. In some cases, it's running with a previous template by previous leaders, Worth and Myrie. So you think um, uh, former president's stance on Africa and also unity was informed by what other great leaders said before, Freddy?
The thing is, Africa has got two type of leaders or two type of politicians, and this Mwalimu said that. He said that the job, being a president, is not a good job. He said that you don't just go in the state house or a government house and make money. He said if you see somebody who wants to go in the state house, become a president to make money, he should be feared like somebody who is a leper, somebody who's got leprosy. That's what Mwalimu said, Nyerere. So that type of leader who wants to make money to make a living as a president, and in some of them, we know some of them who have died and their children inherited the money. Those are the people who use politics as a job, as a business, not a business, but as a shop to make money. And then you have the dedicated ones who are who we call Pan-Africanists, got ideas, like you mentioned Kenyatta, you have mentioned all these people who had ideas, we wanted to implement, who had a commitment to build the African nation and to Africa. And this is not just Africa. All the continents have such people. I mean, in India, you have, in Asia, you have the Mao Zedong, you have the Mahatma Gandhis. In America, you have so many Washingtons and the Lincoln and up to the Jimmy Carter. All these people, you have people ideas in Europe. So many of them. The guy who was killed in Sweden in the 80s, of Olof Palme. The Latin America, you have Castro, you have other people, you have so many. In every country in the world, you have dreamers and idealists of that type. It's not something that is just African was unique to Tanzania. Humans like to have this kind of people so they can improve their lives, because we need to be led, and people like to be led by genuine people. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, Julius, but go around.
My question, you've answered my question. Let's go to a very important part of this program. You know what? For those who missed out, East Africa, for the very first time, East Africa has got the very, very first female president. Female
Yay.
president. And Linda, I mean, what's the immediate reaction to the inauguration and, swearing in of uh, President Samia Suluhu? With beautiful name, Suluhu means solution. For those who don't speak Swahili, the word Suluhu means solution.
I'm very excited to have the first female president in Tanzania, West Africa. Um, I haven't had time to celebrate her as much as I should because I'm still in mourning because of President Magufuli. But I am excited and I am very confident that she's going to do a great job. I shouldn't expect any big changes as she's working under the same manifesto for the 2020 to 2025 manifesto. But yeah, I wish her all the best, and we're praying, and yeah, as a woman, I'm really excited. I see a lot of opportunities for women after this.
Freddy, are men in trouble?
Well, we don't look at it that way. Actually, this concept of man against woman is not something that we have in Tanzania or in East Africa. The thing is a problem maybe in other countries. I don't want to say them, but the history of the countries we have had a lot of women in the politics. I mean, if you look at CCM or TANU, we had Bibi Titi Muhammad. Bibi Titi Muhammad is the woman who actually introduced Mwalimu Nyerere to TANU, or used to introduce her before the speeches in the 50s. So Bibi Titi was very strong, very, very strong, and she's kind of like revered by women. And then after that era, Mwalimu Nyerere, who was very, very, actually the first thing Mwalimu wrote was a paper about women, because his father was a chief. And Mwalimu wrote a paper about pro-women. He was very pro-women, not just for speech, but in implementation. So if you look, for example, in my generation, because I was in secondary school in the 70s, yeah? And 1974, there was a resolution by TANU called the Musoma Resolution, where when we finish high school, equivalent to the GCSEs here, the women do not go through, because we went through the military service or national service. Women will go straight to university. So you have a generation of women who were educated because they were given an opportunity. And this is Mwalimu's or CCM's, this is the ideology to empower the women. So during the Magufuli presidential elections, he was fighting with two women. One was a high commissioner here in UK, Asha Rose Migiro. And then there was another one, Miss Mina. You'll help me, Linda. I forgot her surname. But there was women campaigning, and even before that was Mongela. There were so many women in the government, and now we have a very young lady from the west side of the country who's been campaigning to have tampons for girls in schools, because people take it for granted, or women take it for granted, when you say equal rights. There's girls in the rural areas who don't have enough money to buy tampons every month, and it's not spoken because it's a kind of like taboo subject. So she campaigned for children or young girls in the rural areas to get free of these tampons. And this, because the majority of people in Tanzania live in the rural areas, is 80%, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And the girls don't go to school when they have of their menstrual times. Like 7 days don't go to school, or 10 days don't go to school. But this lady campaigning, she's still in her 30s. Maybe Linda will help me with her name. I forgot. She got a very interesting name as well herself. We might find the name at the end of the program. She campaigned to have this in the parliament. She's an MP for this. So we have very distinguished women, educated. Like I say, education doesn't mean certificate. It means what you do with education. And they campaigned for that. So Suluhu herself, she said when she was in her first speech, I listened to the speech, it was around 20 minutes, not so very long. She said she traced her history, how she started, how she finished GCSEs and how she educated herself, how she went to school, how she went to ADM to study as a administration, and then she became an MP, and then she became a minister for women and children. So she was working hard, and she said sometimes she used to get men making comments that she's not good enough. And she said, I never spoke back. I didn't fight back. So it's not true. They don't have this confrontational thing. She said, it's just waste of yourself. Just do your job, be efficient, and the men will be quiet. And he said, this is how that exactly happened. She did the job well, and men were quiet, and now respect, and now she's the president. And she says, if you think the president is a woman, you're wrong. If you think I'm not gonna do my job well, you're wrong, because it's just a president who is a woman, but is a president. It's amazing how he said that in Swahili. So
Yeah, I watched
it's a
that.
good
It's
start.
pretty much amazing, and speaks volume because she brings a bit an element of you have to get where you want to be by working hard and don't expect any favors. I mean, what does that mean to you, like Linda?
Oh, the aspect of working hard, yes. I mean, I've worked hard all my life. Nothing was given to me. So watching, especially when I recently listened to her story, she was telling us our background. It's more inspiring knowing that she didn't come from money and she was able to work her way up, and she's still, even right now, she still has the aspirations of becoming of doing a PhD, she said. And she said, I'm going to do it. To hear a president saying, I still have this aspiration and I'm still going to get to do it and I'm still going to work at it, it really inspires a young woman like me to think, okay, if the president still has aspirations and she can do it, I have a chance also to also do the same thing.
Yes, we wish her all the best, of course. And we actually been focusing on the legacy of former President John Pombe Magufuli. It's really been fantastic to observe what has transpired in Tanzania. And I do think, there's a lot of lessons to learn. But I don't want to be the one who talks about these lessons alone. On Facebook, you can send us your comments, you can ask questions. Even if we are not going to be able to answer some of the questions, we'll carry them on because this is not the last show. Many more will come. We'll definitely engage that way. So, Freddy, what's your last thoughts when you think about the legacy of former president?
I'm just proud that the country and people don't talk about that. Tanzania is the most peaceful country in Africa, one of the most peaceful countries in Africa, thanks to the good leaders we've been having. And leaders are always criticized. I've never seen a leader who's never been criticized, being this and that. But it tells a long story by itself, just having this such leaders. So the good thing is that we're gonna have continuity. I was reading an article by one of the opposition leaders, Kozite Kabwe. He was spreading around social media, and she says what he said. One of the criticisms of the President Magufuli, which you speak about, was that he didn't listen to criticism, and sometimes he listened. But he said, we need to have more democracy, we need to have this and that. And within the party, I've heard it, that the current president used to be, has a different mind from the way Magufuli used to run things. So we're expecting a lot of surprises. So again, my hope and my optimism, I'm thinking thread. This is the lucky thing about Tanzania. There's a thread always. Somebody comes and improves what has been done before. Even me, the way I'm speaking is because I have had these things happening. I've been taught. So it's a thread. You have a good role model, so you improve on that. If we had a killer before that, somebody who was a mess up, stealing money, sending to Switzerland, killing people, shooting this and that, then the next person will just try to be better. He's going to be called a crocodile. He's going to have a nickname like a hyena or something. But people are not going to want to be like that. They're going to want to be better than Magufuli. So I'm very positive about, as a writer, as an artist, as a musician. I think you can see the songs that are coming out. Everybody's being being inspired. It's a big inspiration for even for the rest of the continent. All Africans are speaking about, I wish we had a leader like that. That's been the chant everywhere in Nigeria, in Uganda, in Kenya. Everybody is saying, wish we had a leader like that. So this is something. This is an historic moment. It's not just an episode of a death. This is very historic, very historic. And we don't care if people are going to talk about COVID. They can talk about COVID, I'm going to wear my mask, I'm going to social distance. But we're just in historic times. And this is very inspiring, just by that.
No, Freddy, my observation before, I've seen in many countries whereby campaigns or the MPs, those who are seeking to be elected, are so close to the people, wherever they are, in rural area, wherever they are, they go to them. But of being elected, they disappear until next general election. Now, from that, I coined a phrase, my own personal definition of what politics is about. And my own definition is, politics is not about seeking for votes and disappearing. It's about, let me see you working for me. But you have another one from Eddie Murphy. Yeah.
Eddie Murphy. What have you done for me lately? Is that what you said? Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What have you done for me lately? I mean, he made this joke in his stand-up in 1987 when he's talking about ladies when they want to marry somebody or they want money. And there's a song by, I think, is it the sister of Janet Jackson? Yeah, Janet Jackson. What have you done for me lately? That was the song. Eddie Murphy was making a joke about that. I mean, speaking of Eddie Murphy, he's a good artist. Doesn't take drugs.
Let's just throw that in there.
I don't know.
What about Linda? Linda, what do you think should be a good politician? Definition of a good politician?
An opportunity to serve his people.
An opportunity to serve his people. Brilliant. And then we have Freddy's question asking politician, what have you done for me lately? And from me, don't do a runner. Don't disappear after election. I want to see you working for me.
Yep.
And all this is under the inspiration of all these great men, former president of Tanzania, John Pombe Magufuli. I'm sure his leadership shall be missed, and I hope it will also be emulated in many different countries. And his ideology, the things he stood for, probably, if they were to also be embraced, they would just make a difference in so many countries. So, viewers and our listeners from wherever you are, we have come to the end of the show. We just want to just wish you a fantastic evening, and then you will be with us next Saturday and another Saturday. We are not going away. We have just started. So all the best from us.
Wanakwambia wanachukua mchanga. Sasa kama ni mchanga, kwa nini unausafirisha kuupeleka Ulaya? Kama ni mchanga, si usafirishe hata Kinyerezi ukajenge daraja.